Welcome to Football's Play to Win with Falcons All-Pro defensive end Chuck Smith, Falcons All-Pro offensive tackle Bob Whitfield, Falcons All-Pro wide receiver Terrence Mathis, and your host, Nikki Williams.
Welcome back to another Football's Play to Win. Here we are in the second half of the season, week 9, otherwise as we call it. We've got some fun additions to our show today. Chuck Smith not with us, but luckily we have Jesse Tuggle, the Hammer, Terrence Mathis, and Bob Whitfield, our Atlanta Falcons legends, join us today to kind of break down what's going on around the NFL, talk about some surprises, some maybe things that we've got cooking, because obviously a lot of things are still happening out there. And we've been calling things pretty good. Now, we did say last week that it was going to be an exciting game. And boy, did it not disappoint. Pittsburgh 28, Baltimore 20 for the Ravens. Playing well the first half, but Roethlisberger and that new Pittsburgh Steel Curtain outplayed Baltimore 21 to 7 in the second half. What do you guys think? Like, what stood out to you in that game that got you the most excited, Terrence?
It was a tale of two halves for each team. It was a tale of two halves. Baltimore's defense did what they had to do in the first half. Then in the second half, the Steelers' defense did what they had to do in the second half. But at the end of the day, when you're up in the NFL, and especially this is what I thought the Ravens did. Their staff went old school. We're up, so we're going to try to control the clock. And then when you don't get first downs and you punt whatsoever and give the other team an opportunity to score, there's a high percentage chance that you're going to lose a football game.
Bob, was it the Goons, as Chuck calls them? The Goon Squad?
Well, it was definitely some hard hitting out there from both sides. And I think that Pittsburgh won a game even though they didn't play as well as they should to be that 8-0 notch. I think there was a lot of plays left on the field by both squads, but it was one of the things you just have to be ahead in the end. And I think Pittsburgh outlasted Baltimore. If they would have extended that game to an extra quarter to really let them rough and tumble out there, it might have a different result. But it's just one of those situations that they may see each other again, and it might be a different outcome.
Man, boy, we could add that to anything. If there was one more quarter of play, the game would have gone like this. Jesse, what do you think?
Hey, Nikki,
Coulda,
sitting there
woulda,
for Chuck,
shoulda.
and Chuck would be mad at me if I didn't mention this right here, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it. The Alloway Goon Squad. That's the way he referred to it because he liked defensive play. When you look at Pittsburgh, who had 2 sacks, I'll make sure I get it right. 2 interceptions, 4 quarterback sacks, and 10 quarterback hits. How else can you you can call it any nickname you want to call it. When you play defensive like that, you're going to normally win a football game. Now, you're sitting there undefeated and the last undefeated team in the league, and a lot of it rides on your defensive back. And when you go out there and the defensive players are making plays left and right, the Goon Squad really came to work and they did their job. Lamar Jackson is an awesome talent. Baltimore is going to be right there in the hunt this year as far as when you get to the playoffs. But for a matchup that everybody was expecting defensively as a defensive player and a person who loved big plays happening, I think Pittsburgh, the steel wall, outplayed them.
And we're going to move it to another. What?
Before we move, Nikki, before we move, there's one thing that's been under the radar all year is the coaching of Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin just moved up to the 3rd active winningest coach in the NFL, which now he's in the top 25 all time. He is a remarkable coach. He's a remarkable mentor for these young men, and he puts a good product on the field. So he needs to get some kudos for what he's doing.
Speaking of kudos for what they're doing, the age of Tua began over in Miami with that upset. Miami 28 over the Rams. What a wild surprise, or at least it was to me. Jesse, were you shocked?
I was a little bit shocked because I expected Tua to come in the game with not much happening. But when you look at his stats, he really didn't do too much. But I think Miami went out there and played better defensively. But one thing I did like how the game started though, with Aaron Donald sort of welcomed him to the NFL.
Yeah.
It's your first start, but I'm going to sack you anyway. And he's the best player in the league defensively. So it was a good game to watch. But I was totally shocked they pulled it off. But at the same time, I was sort of happy for a young quarterback to come in the game. Although he managed the game very well, but I'm looking forward to next week and see what he really can do.
I agree with you. Theatrics sometimes are really everything in a situation like that. Bob?
Well, Miami showed some resilience because of the fact that Tua was actually ineffective. He didn't turn the ball over except for the one time early in the game. He didn't throw an interception. However, his stature played a fact in the game because a lot of his passes were batted down at the line of scrimmage. So he might be doing a lot more rolling out passes just to help extend plays with his legs. But I think it's the energy and bravado that they have in Miami that they really put a lot of pressure on Goff. So Miami sees an opportunity in that division because of the fact that Patriots are so far down and the Jets are so far down, is that now it comes between you and Buffalo. And if you can put a courageous bunch out there, those like rookie quarterback Tua, and everybody's rallying around him, it gives Miami the opportunity to really challenge Buffalo for the division title.
Woo, talk about looking ahead. Terrence?
Well, I was worried about this game for Tua playing against this Rams defense, and it was the Miami Dolphins defense that showed up. But I thought Tua was very poised in this game. I thought he brought energy. It was an energy that we haven't seen in the Dolphins since Dan Marino. And I think it was a good thing. I think that, like Bob said, now they can battle. You split a game with Buffalo and win all the rest in the division, you have a chance to make it to the playoffs. I think, like Bob said, they rallied around Tua. They said we got to make it about defense and not make it about Tua, and that's what they did. And if they continue this, they're going to be all right to get into the playoffs.
How about number 1 rookie draft pick Joe Burrow taking down a very strong Tennessee Titans team? Cincinnati 31, Tennessee 20. I mean, we expected big things out of him. We did. Bob, I'm going to let you start first here.
Well, I think Joe Burrow was chomping at the bit because he's been close in a lot of matchups. And it's one of those things where when you have people on the ropes but you don't pull it off, you know that you're going to have one of those days. And when it comes against one of the second best team in the division, that has to be a good moment for Joe Burrow. But what it was that he has shown throughout those losses that he's a competitive kid and that he can really deliver the ball. And what they have going on in Cincinnati is only looking up for them. And when you beat a team like Tennessee and, shut down what is, we thought would be a 200-yard day from their running back, Henry, that is kudos to that Cincinnati Bengals defense as well. But Joe Burrow really shined because I think this moment was handed to him because of he has been primed to win these big games. If you watched him all year, he has done a great job as a rookie quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Some would say it was timing. Jesse, what do you think?
Joe Burrow, to me, when he first came in the league, obviously he's number 1 overall pick. He comes in, but he does not play like a rookie. He doesn't look like a rookie when he's on the field. He takes control of their offense. If you watch him move around, he looked like a veteran, seasoned quarterback, the way he moves and carry himself and carry that football team. So, been a record with only 1 win before you play Tennessee, then you come there and you beat Tennessee. I think that it shows a lot what the young quarterbacks can do, and it helps going to build his confidence, and his offense going to be even better. But to stop Henry, the number 1 rusher in the NFL, you can't go without giving the Bengals credit on defense, because Henry is a beast, and to shut him down, and Bob, like you said, I thought he's going to come in and at least rush for 150, but that didn't happen.
I mean, they were without some of their starters on the O-line. Somehow, Burrow was not sacked 1 single time. Terrence?
Well, you got to, we seen Joe Burrow as a senior at LSU, the swag that he had, the confidence that he had, the maturity that he's had. So we should not be surprised that when he plays, he don't care. He don't care. He's just out there playing football, having a good time, trying to make his team better and to create wins. And what they have done offensively, they have let it loose. They haven't played really soft offensive football to say, hey, we're going to work our way in to make him feel comfortable whatsoever. They threw him into the hot frying pan, and he has come out crispy and good.
I would agree with
I
you.
like
He
that,
is
Terrence.
always, he's crispy good, and he's kind of like grown and sexy, right? Like he's just an
Yeah.
old soul, and he's got that swagger.
Only you
So
can
it's
say
been
that.
interesting to see him. I know, right? Sue me, somebody will, I'm sure. Patriots, I'm guilty of this. We're all guilty of it. I was really excited
Yeah.
to see what Cam Newton was going to do over at the Patriots. Does it look now kind of like the Patriots are spiraling out of control with Cam? What happens next? Do you think Belichick makes some changes? Bob, I'll start with you.
Well, Belichick goes out in media and really talks about how his team is strapped with salary cap and lingering stuff from past years, that they don't have the weapons, they don't have the it factor anymore. But one of the things I see, and it's not just Cam, is that they are trying to figure out their future. So when you start talking about trading away your best cornerback in Stephen Gilmore, and you start looking at what is ahead of you in Trevor Lawrence or the quarterback out of Ohio State, it has to be that one of the situations is that Cam may have helped the Patriots tank faster by fumbling that ball in that game. And now the Patriots, other than not the Jets, the Patriots might be in the sweepstakes to draft a number one quarterback. Because I did say this, I love Cam to death, but they didn't ask Tom Brady to run the ball like that. And I felt that Cam going to the Patriots, they try to bring back the old Cam from MVP Cam that actually ran the read option plays, that had more carries, but that's old Cam. This Cam that you have has had a couple different surgeries, going through some divorces, and really just trying to make a name for himself back again. He is not the MVP Cam that we used to know. So I just don't like the way the Belichick and the Patriots put Cam in that situation that they didn't ask any of their other quarterbacks to do.
You got a good point, Bob. And one thing I would say, Cam is not the MVP he was years ago. And some of that lie on him. And when I look at him play, I don't think he lost any talent. I think he lost his confidence a little bit. And you in a situation where Tom Brady has been there for years. Everybody knows the record that the Patriots have and the winning seasons and how many times they won the division and going to the Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff. So you're coming into a tough situation with less talent, where they're putting it all on your shoulders. And you bring a guy in and you only offer him $1 million. How are you going to give an MVP only $1 million to prove himself? You guys should you should have showed right at the beginning that we had more confidence in you. And you know how it goes in the NFL. The money speaks volume of what a person think about an individual. But to give Cam credit, and to say this right here, people sort of forget that Cam had the coronavirus and he came back and he haven't been the same since. When you ask me, did that have any effect on him? I don't know. And to me, that's the biggest thing that no one ever talks about. But when you hit the football field, no one is definitely going to feel sorry for you at all either. You're going to have to go out there and perform. And Cam have not been performing. I mean, you watch him throw the ball. I mean, what is it? His timing off, and everything is just off. So will Bill get tired of Cam and make a decision? I think you got to ride him the whole time. And the last thing I'll say about this whole situation, Bob, do you think that Belichick is actually thinking that they're going to get the first overall pick when you got the Jets out there? The Jets not going to win any more games. Maybe one. The Jets going to get the first overall pick. There's no way. The Patriots are bad, but they ain't terrible. The Jets are terrible. I'm sorry. They're terrible.
How do you really feel, Jesse? And then he throws the
I
ball.
know, right?
What is that? Terrence?
You know what? This is what I'm disappointed in with New England is this. They haven't opened up their offensive playbook for Cam Newton. As Bob said, they have limited him to what he can do offensively because they think he's a running quarterback. But we know that he can throw the ball. He's thrown for over 4,000 yards before a couple of times, and in his career. We know he throws for a lot of touchdowns, but we do know he can run and score with his feet also. But they have done him a disjustice by not opening up that offense for him. And you can say about all the weapons whatsoever that's not there, or the talent that he doesn't have. Brady didn't have the talent either, but they opened up that offense and gave him a chance to be productive. And I think that's what they're not doing for Cam. And some of it lies on Cam, yes, but still, when you have a talent like that, you got to open up your offense and let him be who he is, creative, and let him expand what he can do on the football field. I think they limit him too much so far this season, where he's frustrated, they're frustrated, and everybody's frustrated.
Limited and underpaid. So that's where we're at with Cam over at the Patriots. Let's switch it over to Seattle, San Francisco, and start peeling back some of the layers there on that game. Russell Wilson and second-year rising star DJ Metcalf, they just continue to deliver these MVP all-star performances. After their first 7 games, Wilson has thrown 26 touchdown passes and leads the NFL between Tyler Lockett and young DJ. They've got a combined 14 touchdowns between them. Terrence, I'm going to start with you on this. Thoughts on the Seahawks right now?
I think quietly Russell Wilson is getting his name sketched in on the MVP trophy. He's playing remarkable. He's playing with poise. He has weapons. Now, there you go. You have weapons. They know what they have. They know what they do. Their running game has not been well as it has been in the past, so they got to rely on Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf, and they're doing a great job. I think that combination right there, and with Lockett, has been incredible for them. They don't believe that they're out of any game that they play, that they can create a big play whenever they want to. So I think this team is playing with a lot of confidence. And then the addition they added with Carlos Dunlap on defense helps them on the front end and then in the middle. And then when Adams come back from his injury, on the back end. So with Wagner in the middle, the sky's the limit with this Seahawks football team, especially with this offense.
Jesse, is the sky the limit?
I totally agree with everything Terrence said, because right now, when you look at Seattle, Russell Wilson is playing lights out. He leads the NFL in total touchdown passes. Lockett and Metcalf, they're unbelievable. You just get the ball close to Lockett, he's going to catch it. They teach you not to catch with your hands and not use your body and use your hands. Lockett catches the ball any way possible. Last thing this dude use shoulder pads and catch the ball. So he is an excellent athlete. That team is so loaded. Defensively, we talked earlier, Dunlap, he's going to bring a lot to the defense, and that helps the secondary. So with everything being said and guys getting back healthy there, this team right here is my pick, to represent the NFC. And right now I'm excited about it, just watching them and see how it all panned out. But it's going to be interesting. So right now, I really, really think that Russell Wilson and Seattle is going to be the ones that represent.
It's a bold
to me, let me
there.
say
What do you
this.
think, Bob?
It was really about what San Francisco missed. And what San Francisco has been missing is consistent play at quarterback. Yes, some of it, Garoppolo has had a high ankle sprain, I believe it was early on in the year. But it's been inconsistent play at quarterback. And then the running backs, they've been injured. Some got traded away. It's just been a plug-and-play situation with guys that really haven't been plugging and playing consistently. So you're missing your key anchors on defense, and Bosa being gone. It's just one of those things. It's not the same 49ers. It's not that same thing that we saw when they were on their rise and in the Super Bowl and they still lost that game. But it's a different bunch out there. A lot of that nucleus team is gone. And you're missing some of that moxie coming from those key players. So the 49ers really are so far down now, is that Seattle, even with a defense that can give up a lot of yards and some points, Seattle has a strong enough offense that when you have a down 49ers defense, hey, give the edge to Seattle, not just for one game, but in the division.
Well, looking ahead to next week, Seattle's got another huge game. They're going to travel into Buffalo. What do you think is going to happen, given everything you just said, Bob?
Well, I think it's one of those things that combination, whether it's Metcalf or whether it's Lockett, it's just one of those things. But really, I like Buffalo with this matchup. I think Buffalo has been doing some stuff with their defense, and it's just one of those scenarios. Buffalo, hey, they're playing, and I like that quarterback because he is the real deal. That he will not only run the ball, he will hit you in your chest. That quarterback will drop a shoulder right on you. So he is the real deal in Allen. So I like Buffalo. They've been playing great.
Gum New Orleans. I mean, they keep winning. It's not by much. They just keep squeaking by. They beat the Chicago Bears 26-23 on Sunday. The Saints have now trailed by double-digit points in 3 straight games, and they come back to win them all. But a win is a win. So they've got a big game coming up, prime time, Tampa Bay. Are we going to finally see them stopped in their tracks? Do you think their luck continues? Are they just incredible at making adjustments? What's going on in New Orleans? Terrence, I'll start with you.
Well, the Saints have been quietly under the radar. No one's paying attention to the Saints because of the new car in the garage, which is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But we're going to get a chance to see these two teams match up again. And the thing is that Breeze and these Saints have been in good games, been in tough games, been in great matchups. They've been in the fire, and you have to trust them to come out on top against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though Tampa has all these weapons and all these things. But I just, I hate to say it because, I'm a Falcon. I'm a dirty bird for life. And just the Saints just keep, let's stop talking about the Saints. Go somewhere.
Hey, Terrence, I understand your pain, man, because, we're talking about the NFC South. When I talk about the South, I like to talk about our dirty birds, but obviously they're not the top 2 teams in the division right now. So we got to talk about the Saints, and we got to talk about Tampa Bay. I'm looking at 2 quarterbacks who I'm excited to see on Sunday night. You got Breeze and Brady. Let's see what happens. I mean, I really want to see what happens. And not only that, then you bring in Antonio Brown, who'll probably make his debut again on Sunday night. But the best team that I think is who have the better chance to win is the Saints. So you take Drew Brees and everything they bring offensively. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Tampa Bay defense, who's ranked pretty high right now when you look at the league standing. But to stop an offense like the Saints right now, it's going to be a challenge.
And they're doing it without Michael Thomas. That's the thing. That's incredible to me. Go ahead, Bob.
No, she said, chummy, Nikki, everybody thinking chummy. Look, they're the 2 oldest quarterbacks out there. They are dueling for records.
Why are you calling everybody old today, Bob? You're calling Cam old, divorce.
Yeah.
Because
everybody's old.
We got geriatric quarterbacks out there, but these are Hall of Fame, record-breaking, Ben Gay wearing quarterbacks. And they are going to be dueling back-to-back, trying to throw, I got the touchdown lead. No, you got the touchdown lead. But what really is going to come down in this game is a running back that Tampa Bay has, and that running back, I believe his name is Jones, and that sounds on his jersey. He has been carrying actually quite a big load for Tampa. And that takes the pressure off of Brady. And you're going to see Brady excited with Antonio Brown coming back. But one of the key weapons that I saw Tom Brady been using lately has been Gronkowski. So I don't think the Saints, the Aints, can handle what Tampa Bay is bringing to the table right now.
What do you think they're serving for lunch for our geriatric quarterbacks? Do you think they're going to have creamed foods, mashed potatoes? Actually, they're 100 years old out there. Y'all know.
That's hilarious.
Cream of wheat,
carrot
Nikki.
and raisin.
That is so funny.
Salad. I guarantee y'all can still play. I wouldn't let anybody call y'all elderly. Y'all are family to me. Okay, I'll be serious again. Vikings, season's on the line. Dalvin Cook just keeps putting the team on his back and just carrying them to victory over and over. Cook ran through the Packers defense 4 straight quarters, 163 yards, 3 touchdowns. Real question. Do the Vikings have any chance still to make the playoffs? Terrence, I'll start with you.
Well, they just knocked off the leader in the division. I think, they got to make a strong run. They got the pieces to do it. The key to the Vikings is Kirk Cousins. The thing is that he has something about him that that makes you upset or makes you don't like him. But when he puts up numbers and he controls the football, don't turn the ball over, they have an opportunity to win. But now that Dalvin Cook is running the ball and he's healthy, he doesn't have to throw the ball as much. So they can make a run, but the cream of the crop is still Green Bay, which I am disappointed in because they didn't go out and make themselves better at the trade deadline and get them another receiver. So I'm upset with them about that, but I still think they're the cream of the crop.
Got a bone to pick with you, Bob.
Well, you look at Green Bay in these situations. You look at Minnesota. Minnesota surprised everyone, including me, because I didn't pick Dalvin Cook in the fantasy, and he had the highest fantasy total last week with his 50-plus points because of that performance. But what Green Bay, looks like on the upside is they're going to win that division. I don't think Chicago can hang with Green Bay later on down the line. And what it looks for Minnesota, even though they had a big win, they'll be firing their coach in December. So all that, they didn't do enough to save them, and Kirk Cousins has not done enough to save his coach. So it's one of those things that look for a new coach in Minnesota to bring the Vikings back to that NFC top seed. But right now, that win doesn't mean nothing. They'll still be dumping everything at the end of the year.
Jesse, you think it's too little, too late?
I believe so. When you look at it, the big picture, when quarterbacks and coaches go into the second half of the season, you say, okay, we're breaking this thing up in quarters. The first quarter, second quarters, that's over with. Now we're going to the third quarter and the second half of the season. Can they make a run for the playoffs? They totally eliminated? No. But are they going to make the playoffs? Most likely not. I think the Vikings got to really see if Kirk Cousins is really the guy. And, obviously right now, Cook is carrying this whole offensive team right now. And I'm so glad that he wasn't available when the Falcons played Minnesota. And we might have not got our first win because Cook is the real deal. He can carry the ball, and the Packers knows that right now. And so if you're looking at bright spots for the Minnesota Vikings, you got to look at the way the offensive line is playing and look how, Dalvin Cook is really running the ball.
And every week we kind of go around the room and everybody gives us their biggest surprises from the week before. So this week is no different than every week, and we have a lot of fun with it. Terrence, I'm going to start with you and just ask the question that is the burning question we all have. What surprised you the most last week?
Oh man, there's so many things out there, but I think the biggest surprise is Green Bay losing to Minnesota and the way they lost to Minnesota. And it still gives the argument of that, you trust Aaron Rodgers so much and you think that he can make the talent around him great, but you got to put more talent around a Hall of Fame quarterback so he can continue to be great and continue to push your team forward to have an opportunity to go deep into the playoffs, play for the NFC Championship, and hopefully the Super Bowl. And I don't think the Packers have done that. So they will win that division, but I don't think they'll go far in the playoffs. So that's the surprise, that they didn't help themselves at the trade deadline.
Jesse, what was the biggest surprise to you last week?
The biggest surprise to me in the first half of the season, when you look at all these teams, is that how well Tampa Bay is playing. Since over the last few years not making the playoffs, and then now they find themselves fighting for the NFC South. And then I look at and I'm about to tie it all together because the bigger disappointment and surprise is the way Cam Newton is playing, up there in New England. But last week play that totally did it for me. When you need to go out there and perform, and you got so much riding and so many people watching, no matter what the records are. But Cam Newton really had a chance to have a comeback win last week, and the craziest thing happened on that fumble. It just seemed like he probably thinking, like all of us thinking, what else can go bad in 2020? You know what I mean? It's almost like he had the coronavirus. He on a team that's losing, that has been winning, and now you got a chance to do something happen, make something happen, and then you get a fumble right there at the end of the game. But he'll bounce back. But those little things like that, when you look around the league, is no one would have never thought the Patriots be where they are. Half of the season gone, and no one would thought Tampa Bay would be where they are, if you ask me. And without saying, I would have never thought the Falcons would be in last place in NFC South either after the first half of the season. So there's a lot going on right now.
There is a lot going on. Bob, is there anything left for you to talk about?
I'm like, man, Jesse, you might as well call Cam and be like, can I have one of those hats? Please. Can I put one of the Cam hats on my head?
No, man, I'm trying to get him back. I want him to play it like he's been playing, the MVP of the league, man.
Went to every division in the NFC and talked about every team in the NFC. Oh, my God.
That's hilarious.
I'm like, I'm just going to end it with this one.
No.
I will end it like this. My biggest, it wasn't a disappointment, surprise, or I don't know what to call it, but it's something that happened off the field. And it was that Tom Brady cemented a relationship that no other quarterback could do with Antonio Brown. And the reports had it that he actually moved Antonio Brown into his house. So when you, at that age and that stature, take on a new roommate, yo,
that age, there he is again.
Look, I'm gonna get banned, and they be like, "Doesn't he have gray in his beard?" But it's just one of those things that football will bounce funny ways, or it will spin funny ways, and that's a funny spin on football. Is that Antonio Brown is back in football after he has had friction with his last two quarterbacks, his last two teams, and that it took Tom Brady to convince Bruce Arians to bring them back, and now they're roommates together. That's how you win.
The biggest surprise to me this week is how much a lack of love that Bob has for old people that are not old. They're like 40. Oh my gosh. I don't want to hear what you say.
I'm jealous, Nikki.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another week of Play to Win. It's always awesome to have your perspective on our show, guys. I mean, you've been a player, you've been through the ups, you've been through the downs, you've had the injuries, and you can write the books about it. And I'm pretty sure you won't publish any of them until after you die, because I know all those stories off the camera too, guys. So we'll see you all next week on Play to Win. In the meantime, follow us all online. The conversation always continues on social media.